richest countries in the world. Hey everyone, you're watching Pixum, the home for all things extravagant and luxurious. In this video, we're going to tell you about the 7 richest countries in the world at the moment. People have different ways of determining wealth. Some may see it purely as the money you have, while some look at the lifestyle you have or your net worth. So we can say that there are numerous ways of measuring wealth, and that same goes while measuring the wealth of countries. Some countries, like Indonesia or China, may dominate the world in the gross domestic product, but have unlivable wages and poor living conditions for most. So the question here is, what do people think when they think about the richest countries in the world? Some would be surprised to find out that the wealthiest nations are also amongst the tiniest. The COVID-19 pandemic lifted the veil on the disparities in ways few could have ever predicted. While there is no doubt that the wealthiest nations had the resources to help save more lives and jobs, the economic downturn hit low-paid workers harder than those with high-paying occupations. But let us get into the video without any further ado. The countries which are mentioned in this video are ranked according to the GDP per capita and overall average wages. In simple words, a country's wealth should be measured by the inclusiveness of all goods and services, taking into account of the country's population. So here are 7 of the richest countries in the world. Number 7. Singapore. Singapore has a varied economy that makes a profit from the country's location at the mid of a prime shopping route. Despite its small size of 728 square feet, the state of 6.2 million people is a heavyweight in regional and international affairs. It is known for a wide range of things, which includes electronics, chemicals, oil drilling types of equipment, biomedical products, and having a GDP per capita of $65,233. It is one of the most business-friendly countries in the world. This country is also ranked as one of the safest countries to live in for expats. Singapore also has the best airport in the world. Number 6. The United States of America. The United States have the largest population of people on this whole list. It has a really high expanded economy with the second largest industrial output in the world. Far from nearly every other country that ranks among the richest nations in the world, the United States do not depend deliberately on the number of exports. The GDP of the United States sits at the top of the world at $20.5 trillion. An average GDP per capita is also high at $65,280. The USA is famous for technological innovations, Hollywood, hot dogs, historical personalities, and music. Number 5. Iceland. So the number 5 richest country in the world at the moment is Iceland. Iceland's GDP per capita is on a continuous rise due to its moderately low population and near-perfect rankings in sanitation and water and basic medical care. It is also a world leader in access to basic knowledge and personal rights, but when it comes to advanced education, it is not that good. Number 4. Norway. Norway is gifted with charm as well as beauty, and of course a richer economy than most of the countries here which are larger than it. Since the discovery of large offshore reserves in the late 1960s, Norway's economic engine has been fueled by oil, and it has the GDP of $342.8 billion. As Western Europe's top petroleum producer, the country has benefited for decades from rising prices. But unfortunately not anymore. After prices crashed, the global pandemic ensued, sending the krone in freefall. Today, this export-reliant economy faces its first recession since the global financial crisis. Does it mean that it will become significantly less wealthy? Probably not. In June, just weeks after cutting the interest rates to zero, the governor of the country's central bank said he was surprised by the speed and strength of the rebound in productivity. On the other hand, when it comes to any economic problem fate might throw at them, Norwegians can always count on their $1.2 trillion sovereign wealth fund, the world's largest. Not only that, they know that with great riches comes great responsibility. Contrary to many other rich nations, high per capita GDP figures are truly a reflection of people's financial well-being. Norway has one of the lowest income inequality gaps in the world. Number 3. Ireland. Ireland is one of those countries which rely highly on exports. Until recently, Ireland seemed unstoppable, while the rest of Europe was facing all sorts of uncertainties with Brexit, trade tensions with the US, refugee and migrant crises, just to name a few. The Irish economy just kept humming along. In 2019, while the Eurozone grew only 1.2%, it expanded by over 5.5%, consolidating its role as the fastest growing country on the continent. A nation of fewer than 5 million inhabitants, Ireland was one of the hardest hit by the global downturn. Following some politically difficult reform measures, including sharp cuts in public sector wages and restructuring its bank industry, the island nation regained its fiscal health, boosted its employment rates, and saw its per capita GDP almost double to its current levels, which is over $320 billion. Do citizens feel twice as rich as 10 years ago? Probably not. Ireland is one of the world's largest corporate tax havens, with ordinary people benefiting infinitely far less than companies do. And while they are undoubtedly better off than they used to be, according to data from the OECD, the national household per capita disposable income is actually lower than the overall member country's average, about $25,300 a year versus $33,600. With a considerable gap between the richest and poorest, the top 20% of the population earns almost 5 times as much as the bottom 20%, most families would balk at the idea that they were wealthy, especially now that the economy is projected to shrink more than 7% by year end. Number 2, Switzerland. This is the country that boasts some of the highest wages in the world and has a GDP per capita of $82,000. White chocolate, the bobsleigh, and of course the Swiss Army knife, but also the computer mouse, Velcro, and LSD. The list just goes on and on. These are only some of the inventions that Switzerland has contributed to the world. Today, however, this country of 8.6 million owes much its wealth to its banking and insurance services and to tourism, as well as to exports such as pharmaceutical products, gems and precious metals, precision instruments, and machinery from watches to medical apparatuses and computers. Is it really a surprise that Switzerland has the highest density of millionaires in the world? For every 100,000 residents, there are 9,428 of them, billionaires included, 11.8% of the total considering just the adult population. All the money in the world, however, could not have shielded the Swiss economy from the effects of COVID-19. In 2020, production is expected to decline by 7%, pushing the country into what is possibly the worst recession since World War II. Number 1, Luxembourg. You can visit Luxembourg for its castles and beautiful countryside, its cultural festivals, or gastronomic specialties. Or you could just set up an offshore account through one of its banks and never set foot again, as many people do. It would be a pity though. Situated at the very heart of Europe, this nation of about 600,000 has plenty to offer, both to its tourists and its citizens, and it has the GDP per capita of $114,704. Luxembourg uses a large share of its wealth to deliver better housing, healthcare, and education to its people, who by far enjoy the highest standard of living in the Eurozone. Yet, while both the global financial crisis and the pressure from the EU and OECD to reduce banking secrecy have had little impact on the economy, the coronavirus outbreak forced many businesses to close and workers to lose their jobs. Statec, the National Government Statistics Service, has already stated that it expects the recession to be as short as it has been sharp, and that in 2021 the Grand Duchy's GDP will rebound by 7% from -6% this year. The country topped the $100,000 mark in per capita GDP in 2015 and never looked back. Even the pandemic is unlikely to change that. So what do you think about these wealthiest countries in the world? Which one was your favorite? Let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like this video, also share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so you won't miss any of our videos in the future.